All right, we are now here in the Ubisoft booth talking to Frederick, producer on Tom Clancy's The Division. You guys are giving little theater demos here, putting a real focus on the tablet integration, the companion gameplay as you're referring to it. Maybe you just give us kind of an overview of what the gist of this part of the demo is.
So when we looked at the opportunity to connect a tablet or a companion gaming real time with the console, the dev team said we're crazy, you can't do that. But it took about a year or something for the programmers to get around how to do that solution. And we've been really careful about not making it like a gimmick. We wanted to be meaningful, both for the console player and for the tablet player. So what you do in our game is that you actually control a drone inside the console game with the tablet. And the drone will have its own progression, its own skills. You can either play a more supportive role, or you can be take a more offensive role. So you could buff, or you could buff your friends. You could debuff the enemies, or you could even be more offensive, like targeting enemies, or even shooting a missile. Taking more enemies out.
One of the moments in the stage demo that was on the Ubisoft press conference, as well as what you're showing in the demo here, it reveals that as you're waiting for your extraction, that another group is coming to attack you, and that's another group of players. Now, ostensibly, aren't all of the players in the game members of the Division? How do you, fictionally, and I guess on a certain level, technically sort of deal with that issue?
You move seamlessly from PvE to PvP. So in the PvE world, you can play solo, you can experience everything on your own, or you group up with maximum 4 players plus the tablet. But then as you seamlessly move into a PvP zone, there are many more players. When you go into the PvP zone, you're kind of flagged as a PvP player. So that means that everyone is a potential threat when you enter the dark zone.
Even though they are also members of the Division?
Well, that's a spoiler, so I don't really want to get into that right now.
All right. As long as there is an answer to that.
Absolutely, but say, it's linked to the name of, to the brand and to the name of the game, and, but you need to experience that to play the game.
So this is a pretty, dystopian, pretty dark setting for a game. I feel like there's kind of a common thread here amongst several of the games Ubisoft is publishing right now. But also, I feel like this is the setup for this with the pandemic, with the kind of the global collapse. Like, this has a lot more of the earmarkings of kind of, your apocalypse story, your zombie story, than it would, a more traditional Tom Clancy sort of storyline. While there are obviously huge tragic things that happen in other Tom Clancy stories, what was the decision, how was it decided to come to that and to use that as the jumping off point for this game, and to also fold it into the kind of Tom Clancy brand?
Right. So Tom Clancy to us, when we started to look into that, and to the original Clancy book, many of them being written in the 80s, the big threat at that time was perhaps the Cold War and the fear of the nuclear holocaust, if you will. And so what we wanted to keep the core value of Clancy. To us, is like the clear and present danger. So what would be the clear and present danger of our time? So it's you have the typical terrorist threats that we are all worried about. You have the ecological threats, of the warming climate and so on, and then you have the viruses, the pandemics, the diseases that we can't control. And so that's like the theme is that like the clear and present danger of our time. To us, the real threat to our civilization, to our way of life, is a potential pandemic.
And as you said in the demo, there is still some sense of hope that they're at the brink, but they can come back. There's still a chance that we're not going to just tip over and go into full-blown apocalyptic times.
Absolutely. I mean, we like to see the Division agents as agents of hope, actually. So, this all ties back into a real-world government exercise called the Dark Winter that the U.S. government set up in 2001, where they simulated a smallpox outbreak taking place in a mall in Atlanta, and then quickly spreading throughout the U.S., basically shutting down the U.S. in like 2 to 3 weeks, crippling the military, all the disaster relief organizations. And that was kind of the seed or the ignition to our fantasy, or to our world. So, okay, what kind of unit, what kind of agency would you need to kind of like an overlay to all the other existing agencies in the US that exist today that could cope with this specific disaster scenario. And you know, there was a presidential directive signed in 2007 called Directive 51, and that has a lot of top secret annexes attached to it. And that's where our fantasy kicks off, basically. So we're imagining that the division was kind of a remedy or like an overlay for all the other agencies who kind of collapsed in this scenario to be prepared for this specific type of threat.
Well, it's pretty dark stuff, but very exciting. The game looks phenomenal. You guys are coming out for next-gen systems. What's your release time frame for this?
Right now we are shooting for the winter of 2014.
Excellent. Frederick, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.